All right, let's get right into it. If you've ever stared at a blank terminal, totally lost on how to use Docker, you're in the right place. We're going to break down the most essential commands, taking you from zero all the way to running your very first container, and it's going to be easier than you think.
Picture this, right? It's your first day on the job. Maybe as a sysadmin or a DevOps engineer, you're eager, you're ready to make a good impression, and then your manager just casually drops this on your desk. So you pop open your terminal, and all you see is that blinking cursor just staring back at you. That moment of pure panic, thinking, where do I even begin? Yeah, it's intimidating. But trust me, we're going to give you the exact step-by-step path to get through it.
So here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll talk about that challenge. Then we'll quickly cover what Docker actually is. After that, we'll get hands-on with the key commands, manage our first container, and then wrap up with some tips you can use on the job.
Okay, so let's tackle that first problem head-on. You've got this task that seems like a mountain, right? But what you're about to see is that it's really just a few small manageable steps. We're going to turn that uh-oh feeling into I got this.
But before we start typing away, we need to know what we're actually working with. So what is Docker really?
The whole magic of Docker really comes down to this one idea, the container. Think of it like a little self-contained box. Inside that box is your application plus everything it needs to run. The code, the libraries, the settings, all of it. It's kind of like a mini virtual machine, but way, way lighter and faster. You can just pick it up and run it anywhere.
Okay, theory time is over. Let's actually do this. This is where the fun begins. We're going to go from an empty terminal to a live running app.
It's basically just a simple three-step process. First, we'll check if our tools are working. Second, we'll download the application's blueprint. And finally, we'll tell Docker to bring it to life.
All right, first things first. Before you try to cook, you make sure the oven is on, right? Same idea here. Let's do a quick check to make sure Docker is even installed correctly and ready for our commands.
Go ahead and type this into your terminal. If a version number pops up on the screen, boom, you're in business. We're ready for the next step.
Okay, so remember that blueprint I mentioned? In the world of Docker, we call that an image. It's basically the master template, a set of instructions that tells Docker exactly how to build your application's little box or container.
So let's go get one. We'll use this command. What this does is it tells Docker, hey, go out to the internet, find the big public library of images called Docker Hub, and download the official blueprint for the Nginx web server. Pretty straightforward, right?
All right, this is it, the big moment. We have the blueprint, the image is downloaded, now it's time to actually bring our application to life. Honestly, this next command is the one you're going to use all the time.
Now, this might look a little complicated, but let's break it down. Docker run. That's easy. That's our main instruction. Then we have D, which stands for detached. That just means run this in the background and give me my terminal back. Super useful. Next is P for ports. We're basically telling Docker to connect port 8080 on our own computer to port 80 inside the container so we can actually see the website. And last, we tell it what to run, our Nginx image. So you type all that in, you hit enter, and you just get this long, cryptic string of characters back. And then crickets. Your terminal's just sitting there. So did it work? Is anything actually happening? How do we even know? Let's go find out. Now we're going to look at the commands you need to manage that container, to check on it, to control it, and even to peek inside.
Okay, pay attention here, because this is a super common mistake for beginners. If you just type Docker PS, it'll only show you the containers that are actively running right now. But if you want to see everything, including containers that you've stopped, you gotta add that little A flag. That A stands for all, and it's a lifesaver.
And these three commands are basically the lifecycle of any container. You use Docker stop plus the container's ID to pause it. Then you can use Docker start to fire it back up again. And when you're totally finished with it, Docker RM gets rid of it for good. And where do you get that ID? From the Docker PS command we just talked about. See how it all connects?
But what happens when something breaks? Sometimes you just need to get inside the container to see what's going on, to troubleshoot. So how in the world do you do that?
This command right here, this is your secret weapon, your superpower. Docker exec basically lets you open up a terminal inside the running container. It's like teleporting directly into that little box. For debugging and fixing things, absolutely essential.
Okay, so you've got the basics down. You can pull, run, and stop a container. Awesome. But now let's talk about leveling up.
Let's move from just knowing the commands to using them like a pro.
Here are 4 quick tips that will make your life so much easier. First, if a container isn't working, the very first thing you should do is check its logs with Docker logs. It'll often tell you exactly what's wrong. Second, always name your containers. Trust me, -name myCoolApp is way easier to remember than some random ID. Third, do some spring cleaning. Regularly get rid of old containers and images you're not using anymore. It saves a ton of space. And finally, when you're ready for the next level, start looking into Docker Compose. It's a game changer.
So why are we even talking about all this? Simple. If you want to be a system admin or get into DevOps, Docker isn't just a nice-to-have skill anymore. It's a must-have. It's pretty much expected in the industry today.
So think about it. We went from that scary, blinking cursor to having a live application running and under our control. You now have the fundamental keys to unlock the power of containers. So the only real question now is, what are you going to build first?